Hello everyone, this is Frontend House channel, and today we have prepared for you another presentation about content writing for web and how to write content so that the user will read and Google will approve. So without any further ado, let's roll the intro. Okay, so guys, what we want to talk about today is actually how and what words should you use to write your content for your website that will make people read, and how will Google simply approve it. And by approve it, I mean that by SEO, you will get higher in Google search engine. So first things first, let's jump to what kind of content there is. So we might divide this content into two separate types. So one of them would be push content and the other one would be a pull content. And as you can see here on this example, push content is something that is thrown right in front of us. So for example, as we see here, there's a poster on a bus stop. Thanks to this design that is very flashy and where it is actually being placed, where a lot of people they are waiting for the bus, so they are typically bored and they are looking some things that they might simply hang their eye on. So this is something like a push content where we have it in front of us and we don't really choose to see it, we are kind of forced to see it. It's like you're sitting on a bus and you have those little TVs that show you some commercials, you are also kind of forced to see it because unless you have obviously a smartphone, you don't have any choice than to see it. And the other one is called pull content, and pull content is something that we want to see it. I miss see here, but yeah, we want to see this. This is something we actually decide, okay, I want to see this. So for example, when you type in something into Google, you search it and you go there below to see what kind of search results you have, and you see something that you want to see because it somehow got your attention. And this is something you should keep in mind of, because this is the pull content. This is not the push content because there isn't anything flashy and you cannot force anyone to visit your website. You have to pull him in, pull content. So we must write it that way, because there, remember, you can't see any pictures, you can't see any graphics, maybe your logo, that's it, if you paid more. But basically you can only pull someone by your content, by your copy, by what you have written, or maybe, I know, some kind of promotion, some kind of discount. This is something that might pull users into you. That's why it's very important to have very good written descriptions regarding what people write into their web, into the Google search bar, so that the search results will show you your website, and in the description of your website you will have some kind of a catch, like a hook that will hook people into you and they will pull them into you. As just to a summary of it, quick summary: push content right in front of us, we are forced to see it. Pull content, we decide that we want to see it. So yeah, this is very important. Change push content into a pull content. This is like a important thing about that when you have this push content, you need to turn it into a pull content. So if, for example, you are showing something somewhere, and even if you are making people see this because they are forced to see it at some point, this is not also something that will lead to prospects or any more leads on your website or anywhere maybe on your shop. So when you have this push content must also include things that will hook people and pull them right into it, right into your website, right into your store, anything like that. It's very important. Turning push content into a pull content is a grail. You need to do that. This is very important, so remember about that. Another thing about writing content, and this is something when some people are already on your website, for example. So we kind of need to dive into how we read, how people read. So you can actually describe reading into two things. One is saccades and the other one is fixations. So as you can see here, saccades is a rapid eye movement between fixations to move the eye gaze from one point to another. So as you can see, we don't read like this. We read like this. So those are saccades. The saccades, the moments where our eye is sort of jumping and we just go from one point to another. And this, when we hit this point, this right here, as you can see right on the presentation, this is a fixation moment. So fixations, a point between two saccades during which the eyes are relatively stationary and virtually all visual input occurs. When we actually do saccades, we are not really like looking, or maybe we are looking obviously, but we are not sort of perceiving, so to speak. We don't take information during the saccades, we take information when we are at the fixations point. Because when you, as you can see here, we read some part of it. We don't read words like, for example, when we, W-A-L-L, well, we don't read it like that. We kind of look at it as a whole picture. If you can like imagine word as a picture, we sort of look at it and we, okay, I know what it is. It's like, that's why it's very important to use plain words, because imagine that if you actually know a word, it's easier for you to read it because you don't have to like think about it. What does it mean? You know this word. It's like the paintings. If you know a painting, you know who painted it and stuff like that. You don't think about it so much. It's also very important when it comes to fast reading. If actually you read more, then you will read faster because you will have a bigger vocabulary, you will know more words. And if you know more words, and then you simply read faster because you don't have to think about those words that you might, for example, not know. But about that later. So fixations and saccades, this is important regarding how people read. But let's jump into more details of fixations. So fixations have three stages. So the first stage, as written here, person reads few letters of the words. It takes around 100 milliseconds to recognize the word. So yeah, so as I said, we don't read the whole word. And this might have happened to you on some kind of internet joke, when you see that people type in something and you read it in a different way because you read like the beginning and the end of the word, and you don't read the center part. That's why sometimes people often mistake the words, because if there are, for example, two words that contain the same letters on the beginning and on the end, there might come a mistake about those two words. You might mix them with each other. So this is the first stage. We read first few letters of a word. It takes around 100 milliseconds to recognize this word. And then we are going to the second stage, which provides more info about the word that we are reading and also some first info about the word to the right. So this is the second stage. It takes obviously time after the first stage, and during the second stage we kind of, our brain processes the word and we recognize this word, like, okay, I know what this word is. It's the same like when you are going for example, in school, you know everyone. So if you know everyone, you don't really pay that much attention because you recognize everyone much quicker. If you don't know anyone, you take much more time because you need to recognize everyone and kind of remember them. So actually, as you can see, our brain works very similar in very much different type of situations. So second stage, we kind of dive into the word, we recognize the word, and we also get some glimpse of the next word on the right. Third stage, last stage, this is a point in which our brain tells us where to put our next fixation point. So we know where to go next, like when our saccade should stop, like at this point. So the better you will understand the words, the faster and longer your saccades will be, kind of. So you will have a fixation point, like further in the further words. So those are those three stages of fixations in a sort of manner that we read. But regarding of reading, how much of the web content do those people actually read? So it's about 20 to 28% of the content of the web page. And that's really not a lot. You must remember that. And it's not only to remember that it's only 20 to 28% of what people read. It's also about where those people are reading it. So you can know where you want to put your most crucial information so that you know that the people will read it. So Norman Nielsen Group conducted a research in which they found out that we sort of read the content of the web page in like L shape. It's kind of reversed vertically. We read it on the top the most. We kind of go even to the right. We read some stuff on the top, and then the more we go below, the less we read. So the most crucial information, and it might be obvious to you, but at least now you have some kind of proof on this. Those information that you want to provide to the user, that you want user to actually read, should be on the top. This is very important. And also what is important, when you show users those informations. You know that they will only read the top part, but also regarding Google search engine optimization. Unfortunately, Google works that way that to have a good SEO, it's very important to have a lot of written content on your webpage. This is unfortunate because most people actually don't read it. So, you design for the users and then you design for the Google. So when you look at it, on the top, design for the users, and below that you can design it for Google to have your better search engine optimization. This is important to keep that in mind. Keep information for the users on the top, and below you can just give the information for the Google. Actually, nobody reads that. Even if you go around, for example, pages that promote some kind of courses, you will notice that they are explaining how you should participate in this course in a very, 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 very long, like a copywriting. This isn't for you to read it actually, because whether or not you will choose to take part in this course will happen in the top. Like you will already decide there. The rest is for the Google. So those courses might come up in the top results of Google. Remember that. Keep content interesting for the users on the top, and below you can keep it interesting for the Google. And again, use words that your users use. So use plain English. It's why you should use plain language. Plain language is simply the language that most people use. It's not very sophisticated, but it's very, very commonly used, because when people are typing something into the Google, and for example, they will type in doctor, but you will promote your services as MD, medical doctor, it might turn out that you will miss a lot of opportunities for prospects and leads, because people aren't searching for MD, they are searching for doctor, simply doctor. And you should check that if they are using that. So using also plain language allows your people to have a much better understanding of your webpage, and much faster, because there is something called cognitive overload. So cognitive overload is something when we sort of lose our, like in computer, we don't have enough memory to read all of that. This might happen for you if, for example, you once took some kind of a technical book, and you look at that book, you read it, and you don't understand a word. So you will read, for example, like 12 or 15 words. After that, you will stop reading because you didn't understand enough, because you reached your cognitive overload. If you know the words, this cognitive overload doesn't really go that big, that much up. Like it's not, you don't have to really worry about that, because you use plain English language, so it doesn't like tire people to read it. It also comes, for example, when you have a lot of content on your page and you don't know where to look, it might also lead to cognitive overload. So using plain language, plain English, or just any language you actually write in is very, very important. Next thing is check the language of your users. So I don't mean the language, also you can check, you can also like of course check that, but I don't mean the language that if they are writing in Hebrew or English or German, mostly what kind of language do they use. So as I said before, they might look for a doctor, not MD, like medical doctor. They might use different words that you do. And to check that, you can actually use Google Trends to check what kind of terms the user input into the browser. Thanks to that, when you check that, when you see, okay, people are writing this differently than I did, so I might change that. Thanks to that, you will get more leads and prospects, for example, because you will pop up as a result. Because, for example, as I said, if people, there are 500 or maybe 5,000 people per week looking for medical doctor as MD, but there are 50,000 people per week that are looking for a doctor. So you don't pop up in the results for these 50,000 people that look for the doctor. You pop out for these 5,000 people. So 5,000 and 50,000, it's 10 times difference. So this is important for you, because you will get simply more people that will look into your website by the results. Obviously, you need to write something in the description that will pull people in, as we said, push-pull content. You remember that. Then if you pull people, that will be great. So like first thing, look for what people are using, what kind of words they are using on Google Trends. You see that they are using, for example, I said doctor, you change MD to doctor in your page, you turn from 5,000 people to 50,000 people, and then your website must have a really great written description in Google, so that they will say, okay, yeah, I like that. For example, discount. or I don't know, free consultation. Like I have a free consultation. People write that, okay, I like this, I want to go there. You pull them in, you hook them into your website, and then on your website you put all the content that they want to see, like the price, anything on the top that will hook them in even more. Like they will get their desire, because you had their attention, then you need to have their desire, their interest. After that it would be desire, and the action would be just contacting you about your services. So it's very important. So on this last page, when they are on your page, remember to keep the interesting content on top and the less interesting in the bottom, so the Google just might see it and get your search engine optimization even better. So this is it. Thank you for watching my video. We upload content every Friday, so keep looking for those. And if you have any questions, please write them in the comments. We'll try to respond to that. And you can also share with us what kind of tips you have on content writing. But until then, thank you very much and see you in the next one.